Should we get straight into it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's been a there's been a lot of press at the moment about the US debt ceiling.
Yeah.
So this is sort of why I wanted to book the podcast in today as well, because I know it needs to be agreed by first of June. Is that right?
Somewhere between
There and
the
thereabouts.
first and the fifth, they say. Yeah.
So can you update us on what's going on? I've been reading a little bit about it. I know they're coming to some sort of agreement, but they're not fully agreed yet.
They call it an agreement in principle, which is stupid. There has never been a doubt that the United States would increase its debt. That wasn't the problem. Well, the question wasn't, are we going to increase our debt limit? It was a question of how much, for how long, and what else would be attached to that for the various political parties. So we're looking at the ceiling being increased until theoretically 2025. So that gets us through the election. That was the number one thing, because no one wanted to have the argument about debt ceiling and an election at the same time. It's not good for either party. So that was one of the things. They increased it to $35 trillion. Think about that number. It's about 1/6 the entire the amount of money in the world. Total actual money in the world is about $180 trillion. We're talking about 1/6 the cash in the world. That's ridiculous. That's an insane amount of money. You could literally take the bottom half of the countries in the world, you won't get to $35 trillion. And what that means is inflation. That's just telling us that, okay, we know that we're going to be increasing roughly about 7% more inflation in the next 2 years. That's what that's telling me. And that would tell anyone. People hate to do math, but that's what we're saying. We're going to inflate the United States dollar by about 7% over the next 2 years. Wow, that's good news. I feel great about that. By the way, sorry for you guys in the UK and in the EU, because that means inflation is going to hit you too. So we're going to pay more to get less. Hello, aren't we happy we have a deal? No, of course not. No one should be happy about that. There's a couple of other issues about which programs will get extra money or an emphasis. It really doesn't matter, because no matter what they agree to, we're going to still argue over it. We're still going to have debates in the Congress about it. They're still going to blame each other about it. So it doesn't matter. The real thing is, how much inflation were they willing to accept over how long a time period? And who was going to look bad in 2024 about it? That's all that was. Pretty simple.
How is this debt problem ever going to be resolved? Because it just seems like, I know the US are in debt. I think every nation in the world's in debt, right?
To an extent. It's leverage. I mean, there's a difference between having a massive outstanding debt and leverage. Think of it like a business. A smart business or an investor, you're not going to use all your money in cash. Okay, most businesses don't buy everything in cash. You have a line of credit. You have investments. You have a line of credit. You have leverage on your money. Banks do it all the time. And that's good, because it allows you to multiply your growth. It allows you to diversify your infrastructure and your research. So it's a good thing. But there has to be a limit to that. I mean, if you're going out for a mortgage and you say that you're leveraged 40%, you're not going to get that loan, or you're going to pay an insanely high interest rate for it because you're over leveraged. You're spending too much debt. So your money isn't as effective. Well, look at the United States. Our deficit, which means every year, the amount we're losing every year, is about 1.5 to 2 trillion, depends on any given year, 1.5 to $2 trillion a year. We're spending about 125% of what we're bringing in. I don't care how you want to define that. We're over leveraged. Now, our national debt, 35 trillion, isn't really correct. The actual debt is between 130 and 150 trillion dollars. That's with all the unfunded liabilities. That's the true debt of the United States. The difference there is how people want to count various programs. So it's somewhere between 130, 150 trillion dollars. That's more money, or about the same amount of money as all the money in the world. Where does it end? If you believe in modern monetary theory, which Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the Squad, if you're thinking about Andrew Yang, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, they all believe modern monetary theory, which is, as simply put, print money, no one will ever call you out. Just print money forever because it doesn't matter. That's stupid. That's stupid. And that only comes about when someone feels so secure that what they've been doing will never change. That's why they do that. No one's ever called out the debt. But the problem is, once the first domino falls, the debt comes due. We can't pay it off. We're over leveraged. So the answer is, how do we resolve this? There's only two ways to resolve it. One, you cut the size of the government and the spending. Those two things are the same. You have to cut the spending, you have to cut the size of the government, which means entitlements and many other programs have to be slashed, if not eliminated, like eliminate the Department of Education. That would help a lot. But that's not going to happen. We have too many people involved in passing around paper, middle management doing nothing, and really the infrastructure is just completely corrupt at all levels of government. So since we can't do that, the only other real solution is America becomes a third world nation. We become a banana republic like in the 1980s. The dollar becomes virtually worthless overnight, Weimar Republic, and the quality of life in the United States drops significantly, which will put the rest of the world into a tailspin, and China will be cheering like it's May Day parade. That's the reality.